work schedules is hard, man, because I'm probably up your time. I'm up at like 4:30 in the morning. So that's why a lot of times we probably miss each other too. If you know, that's why I be doing my podcast early now because I be up early. You know, the core plantations hours changed.
Right,
so
right.
so now, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm up early, man. I ain't gonna hold you too long. Plus two, man. Shit, you know what I'm saying? I know you got stuff to do and I don't wanna hold you too long, but I did wanna talk to you. My first question I wanted to ask you is how you doing today, my brother?
Yo, man, I'm chilling. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing pretty well for a poor black man.
Hey, me too. Now, my second question that I want to ask, as we get into this, subject matter, what do you think about the corporate plantation? What do you think about it? You've worked it, you see how it operates. I talk about it all the time. What do you think about it? And how? And my second question is probably going to be, and how does it affect black folk having to be at the corporate plantation? Your perspective.
Yeah, I think the corporate plantation is exactly how you explained it when we did a podcast together and you spoke about it being the matrix and how it has, you don't have, basically is you said it, the corporate plantation. When you say it's a plantation, it's a literal plantation. You don't have any rights, no legal rights. um if you speak up or speak out, you will be terminated. And I think definitely, just to add to that, the corporate plantation, like you said, is exactly a plantation. It's a whole slave plantation. You have um, you have the owners, you have the workers, you have the owners who can equal out, who's equivalent to the slave owners, who own the land, own the home, own the plantation. They own the slaves. And then you have the workers who are the slaves. You have your assistants that assist the uh, manager, director, supervisor. Those are the house Negroes. So you can literally run this down the line and run it parallel. I'm not saying that working. I'm not saying that working for a company is necessarily wrong. If you need a job, you get your job, make your bread, make your money. Um, but I think that it it is definitely like what you said, a plantation. It's a slave plantation that I don't know what other way to put it, because simply when you take a look at it, what rights do you have, or what um, ownership do you have underneath someone else's business? Like, you really don't. When you take a strong look at it, I take a look at like the whole sport entertainment, the sporting business. And when you that is considered, I consider that like one of the biggest plantations. It's a self-made plantation. When you look at like the NBA or football or anyone who's going to be drafted, I believe tonight is the NBA draft. And when you take a look at the draft, you look at the players who have these stories about how they've gone so far and what they've done throughout their life. They got their life stories just to make it up to a point where they can finally be accepted on a team so that they can make their millions, so they can make their money. That's a plantation. You're selling yourself. You're literally you're literally grooming yourself for years so that you will be accepted into someone else's organization. Who owns these organizations? These when you climb to the top of the ladder, you see it's not who own these associations. It's not us. You may have blacks in there that have a part or play a part because they want to place them there for a sense of diversity, but they don't own it. So when you take a look at it closely, you see that it's the same thing that happened on the plantations, except that blacks weren't voluntarily trying to sell themselves to be mistreated. You know what I'm saying? But um, you did have bidding wars. You know where you have these blacks up there, and they say, "Well, this black, he's look at the attribute, right? You take a young man, he's 16, 6'4". You know, they examine the height. They look at the muscle tone. He's just ready. This slave is ready to work 35 years. And those type of slaves were the high bidders. The younger you were, the higher the price for your enslavement. It's the same thing today. When you transport it today, they say in these drafts, the NBA drafts or football and stuff, they say he is 6'6". They call out your weight. They talk about how athletic you are. Look at him, right? And it's always it's white owners, and these are black players. You have to walk across that stage wanting to be accepted, and you see these people crying in tears and everything. This is exactly what it is. You can line it up parallel and see that the today's businesses and associations and corporations that we work for is the plantation, known by another name. You know what I'm saying? And what it's done for black folks is that it's put us in a dependent state as to where we are constantly or consistently always waking up with the notion of I'm going to the white man for today to beg for something. So in all of our dealings in today's society, in which Neely Fuller talks about labor, we wake up in the morning going to have asking for permission to go to work, permission to get a loan, permission to buy a house, loans for a house, loans for your car, permission for health insurance, permission for all of these things that we need, and even some things we probably don't need at the moment, but we just want. We ask for permission to go out and do these things, and I believe if we were to think as a nation, black folks thinking as a nation, then we won't have to rely or be placed in the sense of dependency for these plantations, I should say, or for these corporations, associations, these businesses. We wouldn't be placed in those situations, but we are because we don't own and control anything. So it's put us in a place where we're asleep. The corporate businesses today is a plantation. You go out to work, you go home, you wake up the next day, and you do the same thing over again. You don't have a life. You don't get to enjoy your life and your time, and they can care less about you. It's the same thing the slave owners and the slave masters were operating in with the slaves. They didn't give us any time. We work from sun up, from sunrise to sunset, from can't see to can't see. That's how we work. Woke up the next day and did the same thing over again. This is in summer conditions, hot conditions, and in the winter, in cold conditions. There was no sense of urgency to respect our privacy or to respect our health issues and all like that. None of that. And then when you take a closer look at it, Warren G, it wasn't just the slave owners that were participating in the slave bidding wars. You also had insurance companies who would cover the slaves after they were purchased. So those same insurance companies are still around to this day. So they all in on it. So we again, it puts us in a stage of dependency, and it is a plantation, literally a plantation.
Now let you know how I feel about the plantation. I've been there a long time. You know, I hate it. Every day it becomes depressing. Do you feel like that's a big dividing factor between black folk? Is the corporate plantation, the moving up the corporate ladder, the cooning, the samboing, the mammying? Do you think that the corporate plantation is a major factor in discord between our people?
Yes, that's a deep question. Yes, it is. It is. It is. It's a perfect divider. As a matter of fact, this has been used literally as an institution, and it's still happening today. It's literally a school. Companies look at this, they study it. They go back to the Willie Lynch letter. And in the Willie Lynch letter, it said place the younger black man against the older black man, and the younger black woman against the older black woman. It said place the man and the female against each other, the black man and the black female. They didn't say anything about placing the Latinos against each other, the Asians against each other. This was specifically talking about black folks. So when you change the status of uh, uh, we have a female and a male working at the same tire shop, they do the same thing, they have the same type of credentials, but to purposely divide, because if we have them both placed together, they'll gain some sort of confidence and begin to start thinking to themselves, we don't need to work for this company, we can start our own. So to keep them from doing that, to becoming more powerful, starting to build a nation, they have to say, well, we're going to place the man in a higher status. Well, how are we going to do that? We're not just going to we're not just going to say that he's a supervisor, or we're going to pay him more for the same type of duties that him and his female do. And this is how they do it. So then, along with that, you take a look at the female. The male begins to have a big head. The female says, well, I'm a female. Automatically, she reverts back to women rights. I'm a female, and I deserve to have the same pay rate that this man have. I can do what he can do. Right? I'm a woman. The black male, he begins to say, well, you know what? Um, he's not thinking nationhood anymore, because now he's making enough, more than enough, probably, to support him and his family. So he's thinking about him and his family. He's not thinking about this other black sister that's on a plantation with him, that's in the workplace with him. He's not saying, well, let me help her get to a status to where she's up there with me. No way. The separation caused, again, it comes from that Willie Lynch, and it's a social status, which is why, as black people, we always fall for the social justice. That's what we want nowadays. Social justice. We don't want reparations. We want social justice. Not even criminal justice. Not even economic justice. Right? Not educational justice. We want social justice. This is what they've bamboozled and kind of finessed us into believing. So they do this all day on a job, as to where they place us in different titles, because titles are very important to black people. This is just in our DNA. We come from we come from lands and islands and continents that had engineers, and it wasn't just kings and queens. Everybody get it twisted, believing that, oh, just kings and queens. That was very minimal. You had more scientists, that was elite. You had more, again, more engineers. You had more doctors, physicians, all these different type of titles. So those titles are important because we would give them to each other. Names are important to black people. This is why they stripped us of our names when either blacks that was already here was enslaved, or when the blacks that came over from the continent, from Africa, or from the Bahamas, from the islands, that came over as slaves. Either way, They stripped us all of our names because that name carried a title. So when you give black people a title on a job, it makes them feel important because for years we've been taught and conditioned that we're not important. So a title means a lot. Manager is a lot. It gets to our head. And we begin to take it out on who first? You always take out your frustration on the people that look like you or that you love the most first. They begin to take it out on us and try to regulate on us. It's the same thing that happened in the plantation, Warren G. They, when with them having some night watchers, some of those night watchers who are modern day policemen, some of those night watchers, a lot of them were us, were black folks, because those black folks can read in between the lines. These white folks circling around a plantation, they reading our body language, and it's just looking like we really not planning too much, right? They're not really talking. I don't know. Then I go to the service on Sunday for church. They're not really. I can't catch what they're saying. They're speaking in code. They're playing the drum. We don't. They're dancing. We don't really get it. But as soon as they place a black out there and says, you go, now that black who looks like us can feel us, they understand us. They can look at a body language of another slave. They can look at the dance and they can hear the drum that's being played and that the dance that they see in these churches. And they say, the black folks about to plan a revolt. That's what they're about to do. Go back and tell the slave master, and then they receive the notorious manumission for squilling on a black. This is what they do. They do the same thing today. They place a black person at a so-called high position, supervisor, manager, so he or she can go about the social status ladder saying, hey, you know what? I am the regulator now. Anybody who needs to go through to get to the master needs to go through me first. Now they want to protect the master. Then what they do, they begin to regulate on us. They begin to mistreat us on the job. And now we got wars amongst each other on the job when you don't see that amongst like the Latinos, the Asians, the Indians, all these other nationalities. You don't see them going to war in public. Again, they take it behind closed doors. Certain black people we just haven't learned to do yet. As a whole, I think people do it individually. As a whole, we just haven't learned to do it. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, Warren G, they use these things to keep us separated. We also know that they are using it. Some folks are in the dark. They have no idea that they're being used. I believe you spoke about it in your podcast a couple of days ago about being used by the devil. I think it was with, I forgot her name, but it was something Gail, when she was asking these retarded type questions to Gina from Martin, the character, the lady that played Gina from Martin. And so they use people like that to go out and keep us separated. It's just like what Carter G. Woodson said in his book of the miseducation of the Negro. When you control a person's mind, you don't have to worry about their actions. These white folks have already controlled our mind. Then they step back because they conditioned us from birth. They conditioned us. Then they step back, allow us to destroy each other, and then they come in and try to save the day as if they were the heroes. They create the problem, step back, come back in, and solve the problem. This is what they do, and it all stems from the Willie Lynch letter, which, like, I believe it is an institution for white folks. It's a school. They study it. This studies for them, and they say this is can keep black folks now. In all honesty, Willie Lynch, he said that for how many years? He said for hundreds, if not thousands of years. That's what he said. I didn't say it in his letter. That's what he said. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this is basically used for, Warren G.
Man, you dropping hot fire right now, my brother. Man, because look, it was so funny, man, that I spoke on that, and I always do because, I have another question for you. I can only speak on my experience. My experience dealing with us at these corporate plantations, my brother, is very difficult, man. Very difficult. You do have your people, your melanated people that are on code with you, and they don't really trip off the the moving up the corporate ladder. And even if they do move up the corporate ladder, they not acting funny style. They letting you know, look, I'm trying to feed my family. I get it, but I've had some horrible experiences at the corporate plantation, and it's always, of course, it's with the dominant society, but it's always with us. Do you feel? Do you feel like black folk don't want reparations and don't want to change the system and establish a system of justice because they are comfortable in their position at these corporate plantations? Would it be safe to say that? What do you think about that? Because I feel like me personally, I feel like a lot of black people, they don't want reparations. They don't want to get money. Some black folk, they get a high off of going to the corporate plantation and treating us like we ain't nothing. I don't understand that. Dominant society people already treat us like that. So my question to you is, do you feel like a lot of black folk at these corporate plantations, they love the way it is, they like their position within that corporate plantation, and they don't ever want to change it? Even if somebody said, here, I'm going to give you $1 million, they'll still be like, oh, I got to show these people I'm a good worker. What do you think?
Yes, yeah, because again, they've been placed into a system of dependency. Um, and the truth of the matter is, some black folks don't want reparations, but I don't understand why they wouldn't. But some black folks don't want reparations. They also feel, Warren G, that it's a handout. They take a look, say, well, I don't want a handout. It's like they got the pride. And uh, these people they're comfortable sitting under master's feet. You had two type of two type of blacks, right? I'm talking about here in America, right? You have two type of blacks that were slaves. I hate to keep harping on slavery, but I mean it's a plantation, bro. You have those two type of blacks, which one, I'm sorry, three type of blacks. One doesn't want to be there, hates it. He understands. He doesn't want to. He'll give up he's going to give up his life fighting to get out of the condition of being a slave, the condition of being mistreated and um, having your family sold left and right, just being chattel slave. Then you have that black who is in the middle, and they're like, you know what? I I don't mind. I don't mind staying here. I just don't want to be a slave here. So I'm kind of gonna stay in the middle. I don't know which side of the fence that I'm on. And then you have that other black who is perfectly fine with being a slave, like all the way. You told him that, listen, man, you're not supposed to be in this condition. Do you understand that you can leave? You can walk off the plantation right now. They won't walk off the plantation. Those are the people that still exist that you're talking about, Warren G. They are on a plantation, and you're telling them, you can actually own your own business, right? Like, you don't have to take this. You can leave. You don't gotta be like this. And they're saying, no, where else am I gonna get anything? How I'm gonna pay for my bills? I get, and I'm not knocking anybody that's on welfare or food stamps and stuff. Um, Trust me, I understand having to reach out for those type of services. But you have some people who reach out for those services purposefully because they just would much rather master take care of them, and they don't want anything on their own. So you have people like you, which fit the description of that slave that said, I know I'm not supposed to be in this type of condition. I'm out. And I'm telling other folks, and if they ain't leaving, I'll leave. It don't matter. I'm out. I ain't supposed to be in here. I hate it here. And then we meet up with those people who are okay with it. Then we become at war with each other because they are our biggest threat. They don't want reparations. They can care less. So they're gonna fight against it. Those are the folks who are going to go into the political game, and they're gonna try to start trying to finesse the system a little bit, saying things like, talking about critical race theory and how they support it or don't support it, and multi colorism, and how that's the new move, and we need to just get on board. And we as black people, we have to be on board for all people and social distance, social injustice. It began to start throwing these, what Claude Anderson would say is these big and ambiguous terms. And that puts us in a hole because it's a majority of us who do believe and know that we deserve reparations. This ain't no handout for us. As I stated before, our ancestors died working on a plantation. They were in, doing during the sharecropping era. A lot of them died on the plantations, never getting paid. They died on the books. That money is supposed to be accumulative in the land as well. So, um, those folks again are our biggest enemies in all essence. They're going to fight against us, and they may come in a sense of um, Candace Owens and Roland Martin. People that's just more political gain first, and they'll be one, maybe fourth or fifth place in their life. They place it there. You know what I'm saying? So um, I think with those type of people, I believe those type of folks who don't want the reparations, don't care about it, they made their choice. That's what you don't want. Just don't get in the way of what we don't want. I did a podcast here, and it was with two brothers. I asked them about reparations. I believed that they were going to say, yeah, we want it. Both of them said, nah. I was like, what? Like, if you look at my expression, I'm like, what? Like, I almost went off the air on that one. Like, hold up, time out, fam. Like, what are you? And I'm like, all right, let me let them speak their mind. You know what I mean? Maybe they got something different, but I'm like, I told them afterwards, off air, like, I don't know, fam. I can't get with that. Yeah, wow.
Hey, well, hold on, my brother. I saw that one. Cause wasn't they kind of, if I'm not mistaken, they was kind of making it seem like they don't need no handout. They was kind of alluding to that. Why basically that kind of like pull yourself out by your bootstraps, not in that way, but basically like you just got to work hard to handle your business, and you shouldn't be expecting no handout. Am I wrong? Because I think I saw that one. I saw that
No, you're
podcast when
right.
you
You're right.
when you it was
You're right.
it was two brothers.
Yes, that's right.
Hey, yeah, and it was two brothers. And you know what? I kept forgetting to ask you about that because we need to do one. I want you to if you ever get a chance, have me on there with them. Have me on there with them, and then we can rediscuss that. Or have me on there. Matter of fact, we got to do a spaces about that because I feel. What do you think about that? I feel like we misinformed. I feel like we have pride at the wrong times. And what do you think about that and the relation to the corporate plantation and all that? How does that relate to us having this sense of pride of we don't need a handout?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. Is we're misinformed, and we haven't done our research. You know what I'm saying? We haven't guys haven't done their research. When I went off with them, I said, "Yo, man, hey," I spoke with both of them. One of them was convinced after, like, yeah, you know what? I didn't look at it that way. My perception was different. You, yeah, I'm with it. The other one that was wearing a hat, he was like, nah, he was just still stuck on, it's a handout. They're giving us something. Why do we got to go to the government and ask? So again, we're when you take a look, it's not people take a look at it, Warren G, and they say you're looking for them to give you money. It's like, yeah, yes, we do want the money. Yes, absolutely. We want our money. I'm not saying we need it. No, we want it. Even if we was millionaires already, we still need reparations. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? My ancestor blood is in the ground here. My whole thing is we're believing that they're giving, and we're not. We're demanding. You see, that's Candace Owens and them that's asking. That's not us asking. That's not the grassroots. We ain't asking, we demanding. We're not asking for you to sign a 41 HR 40 bill. Like, we're not asking. We're demanding, period. Like, there's no other way to put it. You sign as a government, you sign Homestead Acts and everything. You giving reparations to everybody and haven't given us anything. And you said you've used someone you depict as being black to say, well, I'm not going to give anything just to black people. And that's what she said, as in Kamala Harris. These folks, I feel, and in deepest of the deep, if we take them behind closed doors, and if they still are against reparations, fine, and stay on the fence over there on the other side against reparations. But when you begin to start fighting against us who believe that we deserve reparations, when you begin to start doing everything in your power to fight against us, now we need to exile you because you're going off code. We know as black folks, everybody is not going to agree on every single issue, even in concerning reparations. We can kind of get over that, right? But when you are being used, right, again, being controlled by the white man indirectly to display a type of action that compromises your people, you need to be exiled from that community that you came from. Period. You, you need to be exiled, and you can never come back simply because you compromise the whole nation, the black nation. That's what I feel,
Yeah.
Warren G.
Ooh, we got our sister in here. Uh, Banana. I don't want to mess. Banana Red. I don't want to mess up her name, butcher her name. She's a Libra, so shout out to the Libras. Uh,
How y'all
I want
doing?
you to go ahead and what you think about the subject matter.
How y'all doing? I remember I was in your space like about a month ago, and it was just y'all two, and I think you did another one. I don't know what happened, but shout out to you too. I was like, oh yeah, I got to get into this one because um, first of all, yeah, the corporate plantation. I definitely agree with that. This is what I find. I find that a lot of the Boule people, um, they're on this thing where it's like they're quick to say, I hate to tell you, but reparations is not going to happen. They try to get some, they try to put on their smart cap and start talking like that. And it's like, I feel like if you don't believe in it, just be quiet. Can you just say, okay, yeah, black people deserve reparations, and then, just shut up and kind of sit on the sidelines or whatever. um, Kamala, I remember when she first was trying to be president and she did her little thing in Oakland, she spoke about reparations and was saying that, black people wanted to get like 500 billion or whatever, even though we know the money is more than that. But she said that. And then she just did like a complete, she never spoke about it again. And I'm like, what the? I think she was trying to get the black vote, and it's just sad that people fall for this nonsense. And my biggest thing is that why do people keep saying that it's a handout? If you take somebody right now and have them sign a contract to do some work for whoever, if it's construction or whatever, for 4 months, and then they don't get paid, should they not try to fight for that money too? Because what they're doing is they're using the white supremacist talking points. They're doing it for them by saying, oh, move on, it was a long time ago. Shut up. Nobody gave you permission to speak. You shouldn't talk. We're going to respect you. But I honestly feel like some of these people should be they should be taken care of, and I'll leave it at that because it's ridiculous, like this is something that's old to us. People were on plantations, people were working for free, people were building up their own, they got their houses, they had to run because the KKK and other groups and the government, so they had to leave. Then they start over again. Then they gotta leave again. Then they burning down stuff, and then it, it's and then on top of all of this, one of these same Boule people that I know, when it was time to vote for president, they were like, is when I think Joe Biden, that other guy, the gay guy, got it or something in Iowa, Ohio, whatever the primaries, and it was like, so are we gonna be trying to go for Bloomberg? Bloomberg admitted to redlining people in the last few years. This is recent. Are people this stupid? Am I telling the truth? Like this just happened, and so let's say that you were one of them family members that tried to get housing or whatever, and and then it didn't happen. Whatever. Next thing you know, you might go through some mental breakdown or whatever, and it's just like this endless big snake chain of events that's just keep reoccurring, and people are so silly that they really was about to go in for, they voted for Bloomberg, said they were going to vote for him, and he apologized for redlining us within whatever amount of years that was, not 20 years, whenever. Is that not retarded? I mean, I bring up all of these points to people because it's just like, okay, so you don't think that we are old? Not to say that we can't get it on their own, but if somebody took your money off the street, another brother, some of people be ready to kill a brother. So now we you can't get on code with everybody to get what's old after all the stuff that happened. My mom was about 12. I think she was at the bus station, and they had the two bathrooms, the colored and the black, and the black one was broke. So she went and used the white bathroom, and a white lady called the police on and said, "There she is." And the cops say, "Why did you use that bathroom?" She's like, "Well, because I had to go to the bathroom." Like it's all these little things like this, these little incidents that just, it's so many, it's like the size of a freaking three football field stadiums filled to the top of stories and stuff of all the stuff that we've been through. So somebody who says, "Oh no, we don't need reparations," I want to know what their thought process is and why they say that, because this is not a handout at all. This is not a handout. That's plain and simple. Thank y'all.
Oh, my sister was dropping hot lava right there. It isn't. We know it's not. But here's the thing, they just get them to do it. See, the system maintains itself. It's just like the Matrix, like me and my brother David always be talking about. It's the Matrix. That's why I always encourage everybody, go watch the first three. Don't watch the new one. The new one is horrible. But if you watch the first three, that was written by Sophia Stewart, if you watch those, it breaks down the system and the people that were users of the Matrix. They were powering the Matrix. They were powering them. They were powering the system, and people, and it was so elusive to everyone, and it was such a great illusion. People couldn't stay out of it, and I feel like that's what goes on a lot of the time at the corporate plantation. Because look, you're not just fighting the dominant society, you're fighting your own people. And my question, and my last question to my brother David is this: why is it at the corporate plantation, as hard as it is, we will not see the value in each other at the corporate plantation. Why is that?
There you go with another good one. We simply don't see the value in each other as brothers and sisters because we don't have any value in ourselves. We've literally been, like I said earlier, conditioned from birth. You take it back to slavery as slaves. You had to bleed every part of the culture out of that black person in order for them to be completely brainwashed. Once they are completely brainwashed, now you can put them in a position as to where they can maintain the system that you set up. Because you're not looking to maintain that system on your own. Like you want to be these people want to be able, brother, to be sit back and not be in the fields working. They don't want to do the dirty work, the grimy work. They need us to do that. You know what I'm saying? So therefore they place us in a system to where, like in this corporate plantation where we get used to working every day, right? It's 9 to 5, it's 8 to 4, it's 7 to 3. We get up and it's just all about going to work, come home, or even getting rising up at grand rising time and then going to school, spending about what 7 to 8 hours in school, coming back home another 2 hours, whatever, to study and get ourselves together, studying to get ourselves together, and then what? We go back to school to do what? Take a test. So we're doing this over and over to do what? To get a paper that says you completed the training that we put you through, because it's not real education. We put you through training. Here's a paper to solidify that. Now go on and get yourself a good job. But they don't tell us what the good job is, right? They say go to school, get yourself a good job, not understanding that you're going to school to graduate just so you can work for someone else for 41 more years until you retire. At what point did you own your own? Did you build your own nation? You know what I'm saying? So this is the type of game that they play. And in that, if we have value in ourselves as black people, if we had value in ourselves, we would focus more on building a nation at every opportunity that we get versus I'm going to build my family. This is just for my family. I want the opportunity for my family to strive, and I'm going to pass this down to my child. You should be thinking nationhood, so B1 should be first, right? But instead, they put so many distractions in our way, and they have us believing, not even just thinking, they have us believing that to be B1 or to think black first is a bad thing. So to actually love yourself and to love your brother and sister is bad. It's negative. It's synonymous with negativity. That's how they have it. So instead, we begin to start thinking about serving the whole world. We haven't even placed love in ourselves. We'll wind up, what that sets us up for is to place love in every other race and put our race last. It reminds me of what Malcolm X said when he was talking about the Democrats, about how we put them first, they put us last. This is how they get down. This is what happens. We put other groups first, and at the end of the day, they put us last. There's no other group that's out there that's saying we're gonna fight with these black folk for reparations. Like, we don't want what you got. We don't want the reparations, but we're gonna fight side by side with you because we believe in that cause. We believe you deserve it, right? They're not doing that. Right? They already received their reparations. And then again, you have us out there who are saying, well, it's a handout. I don't really want it. And you begin to start thinking, I don't want things from the government. But all in all, you're still asking for things from the government, right? I mean, these same people who say this is reparations is a handout are the same people who say, well, if I want to start my own business, but I need to go on, I got my business, I got my LLC going, but I want some land. I want to try to, get a grant. I want to try to, yeah, you're still going to the government for for a handout. To me, that's more of a handout. See, because you're going and you're asking, you're filling out, you're putting in your information. As black people with reparations, I'm saying we got proof that we deserve reparations. Like there's proof there. So we don't have to beg. We're demanding it. So once we put that value, I know that you speak a lot about in basically all of your podcasts. Once we put that value that we love ourselves, we love our history, we love where we come from, whether that be from Africa or whether that be from America or the Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? I say that because I know some people, um, they feel like, yo, they don't come, they wasn't transported here from Africa. A lot of them were here. I don't go against any of that. What I'm saying is, no matter which side of the spectrum that you're on, we gotta love our culture first, love ourselves first, love our culture first, love our history, know our history, because you cannot oppress a people who are historically sound. Can't oppress those people because they know the importance that they hold in this world. It's only the people that you can oppress in which they don't know. And we as black people are the only folks who don't know, who don't really know because, like you said earlier, we are not informed. We're just not informed. And because we're not informed, brother, we don't know history here. We don't know history beyond 1492. It's just all basically, we just are reactionary people versus being a tactical people.
Yep, yep, yep.
Man. My sister, you got anything to say about that as well?
The whole thing about the using the government and stuff like I said, you said it. I'm a Libra because I look at things from all angles, and when people want to say, oh, well, you're trying to get something from the government, and then you really have a conversation with that person and dig deep into the things that they're doing, is like, well, hey, aren't you relying on the government to do this, or aren't you relying on the government to do that? So don't start saying, oh, well, I'm trying to do it, but I'm trying to get out of that system or whatever. And it's like, okay, I get that. I do, but let's be realistic here. We want to start talking about being realistic, because you sitting up there telling me about how they cutting the systems for WIC and all this other stuff, and people that's on it or whatever, and that's wrong or whatever. So are they relying on the system, or or deeper than that, like he said, getting the LCs or whatever. It's people have to really stop being one dimensional. I've some of the spaces I realize some people are just one dimensional, and you can't be like that. You can't be one dimensional. You have to look at things from all different angles, and be playing chess with this thing. It's just very universal, this whole white supremacy thing. It's broad spectrum, and people really have to think wisely about it. That's all I wanted to say.
Man, that's good stuff. That is very good stuff. Man, I really do appreciate y'all stopping by. getting this thing going. I speak a lot about that on the podcast because, I've been like jotting down and writing down a lot of stuff about my life and the transition to the corporate plantation. And I really, really feel that I agree with both of y'all. David, you on point. My brother's on point. We don't have value in ourselves. So when we get on these corporate plantations, the first thing we want to do is see what the angle is when we dealing with each other. We don't see what no angle is when we dealing with every other racial group, but we are quick to see it with us. And I've learned, I'm not gonna lie, I've learned now, I'm gonna be on code regardless because I don't think the corporate plantation is a place where you hash out your differences. So I'm gonna just be on code, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna be the next melanated brother's best friend because I've worked around a lot of melanated people and all skin folk ain't kin folk. They get on these corporate plantations and they tend to act just like Kamala Harris and Keisha Lamami Bottoms and all these other people that I mentioned over and over again. I'm not saying that you can't have your own point of view, but what I'm saying is, and I'll leave it at this: I don't see no white dominant society Jewish person talking about, well, the Jews don't need money reparations. We just want education. I don't see not near one dominant society white Jewish person going on TV and saying, we don't need cash reparations. We need education. We need housing. I don't see Chinamen, I don't see Latinos, I don't see nobody else saying that, but coons and sambos and mammies going on TV that are being paid by the dominant society to use those talking points. And I don't know why we don't call them out more. And we have to stop allowing them to speak for us. That's why when I get on the corporate plantation, I'm slow to speak and eager to hear because I want to know exactly who I'm dealing with. Once I know who I'm dealing with, I proceed from there. And the majority of the times that I've dealt with us on the corporate plantation, it's always been drama, backbiting, all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that as a young person, I was not taught to be on code. So I had to learn it through my studies, through other people that I worked around, through people like David, people like this sister. Every day is a school day and you can always learn. But when you do learn, then you understand what it is. And I'm going to say it one more time. I don't see no dominant society white Jewish person talking about, oh, we don't need cash. We just want to go to school. But it's okay for everybody else, every other racial group to tell us what our reparations should be. And that's something that I want everybody to think about. I say it all the time. Why is it everybody else get cash payments, then when it comes to black folk, we're going to do a study? So I just feel like we have to have intrinsic value in ourselves before we can have value in each other. Man, my brother David, let everybody know where they can catch you and let everybody know all the stuff that you got going on, my brother.
Yes, indeed, man. I appreciate you for having me on another space, man. This was a really, really good one, and I appreciate the sister Banana. I hope I'm not butchering the name. I believe it says Banana.
Just banana.
Okay.
Just
I
a
didn't
little,
want to.
the nickname they gave me after Hurricane Katrina. Because
Oh,
sometimes I'm
okay.
yellow and sometimes I'm red. But trust me when I tell you I'm black as black all day.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just didn't want, but it was yes, and so she was definitely on point. I agree. If you're gonna don't fight, you're gonna be against our reparations. To fight for our reparations, just go to the side. You don't go over there. Go to the left with it. I agree with that, man. You can catch me on no compromise media. You can Google it. You see it. no compromise media, or for just a little bit better clarity, you can go on Instagram. I'm usually live on there, or more so on TikTok. I really get live on TikTok, and I really bring a lot there. A lot of my work is done there at the moment. So it's no compromise media, no compromise media, and my other organization is Young Kings Elite, and my website is youngkingselite.com. It's my nonprofit organization in which I work with youth. My aim is Black youth, and I use sports as a way to help shape their character. That's what I do. That's what my first love is, and it's real funny with this whole plantation thing because that's been something that has really affected me slightly, but it's not going to stop me from continuing to serve, the youth in my community. Again, it's all about character development. So that's what I have going on, and I'm really pushing forward with that, man. So yes, no compromise media. That is where I do my podcast, and again, my character development academy used through sports is Young Kings Elite. Young Kings Elite.
Thank you, my brother. My sister, do you want to promote anything? You got anything that you want to promote?
No, I was just I was just looking at his stuff on Instagram because I do Instagram a lot. I lately I've been on the Twitter Spaces, but not so much too much because people are arguing and beating a dead horse 14 times to the 14th power. But yeah, no, I remember y'all, from a few weeks ago, and I still don't know how to spell that word. And I told y'all that Meg the Stallion reminded me of that word y'all said they use Black people for. What do you call it? Miss something?
Notorious Manumission.
Notorious
Yeah,
manumission.
a meritorious man mission. My brother David always speaks about it. Like when we do spaces, he speaks about it on his podcast a lot. I just think people probably don't be paying attention because they probably don't really understand the context that he's using it in. Because David is knowledgeable and done read 1,000 books, so when he be speaking about it, I think it goes over a lot of people's heads. But I'm glad that you asked that. My brother David, he's talking about you can quote Black Labor White Wealth, Powernomics. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about it in like I think almost all his books, if I'm not mistaken. But my brother
Okay.
David always he speaks it. That's what just to keep it in context. When I first found out about this brother, and I was listening to his podcast, and I was looking at his Instagram and looking, just listening to him. And what I admired the most was the brother was super humble but so knowledgeable. That's why I call him my OG. I call him my Professor James Smalls, you know what I mean? Because he's so knowledgeable, but he's so humble. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, and I really like that. I like that, that
yeah,
y'all can.
he's
Mhm.
super humble. And
Mhm.
I that's what I admire. That's why almost probably on my podcast, I always mention him because I get game from him. He be speaking about books and quoting stuff I ain't never even heard. And he just knowledgeable, but he's humble. And I feel like he needs to be on talk radio or on satellite radio because he has a very, very, very good, solid message for our people and our youth, and they need to listen to that and hear it. You know what I mean? Like we got to stop hating and start uplifting. Like I love my Black folk that got 100,000 subscribers and all that. Hey man, I love it. You know what I mean? That I like to see my people win. And my brother David, he has a great imperative message And I just wanted to get out. That's why I always shout him out on every podcast. I told my sister about it, my cousin, anybody I know, man, check him out, man. He dope. You know what I mean? Because we need to start doing that. And I'll just say this, my sister. Why is it we'll wear jerseys of Jordan, jerseys of LeBron and Kobe and all them, and we'll cheer them on, right? And they're just playing a sport. They're not really putting out a message because their message is not. It's not their job is not to put out a message that will empower Black people. So when you get people like David, you have to really promote them and uplift them. And I feel like we don't have intrinsic value, so we don't want to promote somebody. And that's why I always love promoting because David know already by me. I've known him for a minute now. He already know, man. I don't do this for clout chasing. I do this because it is very therapeutic to ask him these questions because sometimes I don't know. I don't know. So I ask him, and then I kind of get game from him. You know what I mean? He probably don't even know that, but there's a lot of stuff that he say. They like even today, like, oh well, Warren G, we don't see value in each other at the job because we don't have value in ourselves. Some of the stuff he says is so like tantamount. Is so sometimes it blows my mind, and I'm thinking about it, and I use it. Like what he said. Oh, when we were on the slave plantation, they gave us a little duty that gives us the confidence. So then he brings it back to the corporate plantation, and he is definitely right. Once you get a little position, you can be a lead or a supervisor, or a manager. You start popping your collar because the dominant society has validated you as somebody that they feel is important. And he's right because I've seen it 1,000 times. So you know what I mean? So it's like I just in my spaces, we're not gonna be doing no arguing and stuff in my spaces. We can compare notes, we can agree to disagree, but we're not doing that over here. And David already know. I've already had to kind of check people before because they'll I think a lot of people get overzealous. You know what I'm saying? And they don't really want to understand the dynamic that me and David have. Like I want people to hear what he has to say, man. Like we need to start uplifting our people. Why do we wait until they got 100,000 views for us to be like, yeah, he dope? Like, why do we have to do that? Why we just can't uplift a person because their message is powerful? This brother is doing real things in the community, man. So other people should hear about it. I'm always talking about it. David, no, I'm every podcast. I'm always saying it because I know one day this brother is gonna be huge, man. And then when he is, and I see all these snakes around him, I'm gonna be the main person saying, nah. David know that already because we need people like him. Like
We do. We do.
that's
I
what the company.
appreciate both of y'all brothers, man, because y'all are positive and my energy has been good right now. Y'all didn't bring down my energy. Y'all uplifting. And it's just it's refreshing and it's good information and you all are able to speak without letting your emotions get into it, or if your emotions do get into it, it's on a positive. It's just wonderful. And I could scroll up to the top of my screen now and see they got about 4 or 5 other spaces, and I'm just like, I look at some of the names and I'm like, I'm not going in there because they're gonna start cursing and start this and that, and I just don't need it. I need to hear. And I took notes on that other that when you that's why I said that word again. I actually take notes when I hear stuff that I don't know. This is what I want. I want to learn. I'm always learning. And I appreciate both of y'all so much. I really, really do. Honestly, like it's just, we need this. This is what I like. Like I told somebody today, I said at the end of the day, really, I'm a flower child. I'm a happy go lucky person, and I want to be around people that's uplifting and can and uplift other Black people and talk good about Black people. All of this. Oh well, you from this way. I'm not dealing with you, and you have to treat people as individuals. You have to treat people accordingly. That's what it is. If that person is a coon or tether, whatever name you want to call it, okay, so we figured that out. They like this. Okay, now keep it pushing. Let's move on. Let's move on and be around the people that's gonna be on our side, and that's it. That's all. So y'all are awesome, man. Like really, and I start joking about it because it's just like, come on, man. Like how many times can you keep talking about this over and over again? Some of these people are agents or whatever. I don't know what they are. I'm just like, I don't you're not even making no sense right now. You done talked about this like 17 times already, and then next week you're gonna talk about it 30 times. All right. I don't even want to talk to you no more. Shit.
And, and that's funny you say that, sister, because I'm gonna end with this. The only other spaces I'll be in is if my brother Juan, he's very knowledgeable brother, and I'll be in his space because I just like to learn. But I don't. If you notice, I'm not on here unless I'm really interviewing my brother David. If I'm not really interviewing him, I don't do a spaces because I just feel like this brother, he doesn't have malice in his heart when he's trying to speak and educate us. And that's what I like. And I'm not saying that, other people do have malice, but that was never my goal to say, hey, yo, David, man, let me interview you. And then now we arguing, and then I bring another person and we arguing. See, people, because as my brother David, I'm going to quote him. And I heard another person who had a whole bunch of people on his Twitter space or Instagram or something say something similar to David. But I heard David say it first. This brother said, we don't like drama, Warren G. Black folks like theater. So when he said that, that made me stop watching a lot of drama on YouTube. It made me stop watching a lot of stuff because he's right. We love buying the popcorn and standing in line and sitting down and watching the theater. We love it. We can talk about it all day, but we don't never ever want to sit down and love our story, our history, learning, uplifting. We don't want to do that. So, this brother David, man, is a very super knowledgeable brother. And he already know. I'm going to do anything I can to uplift this brother and make sure that people hear him. And you're right. We not going to have that arguing and stuff on no Twitter. Not here. Because David already know. I didn't already had to check somebody before. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is me in his space for me to get his perspective. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I feel like it's very important that we don't argue on here. We can have disagreements, but it's very important that we don't argue. I appreciate you, my sister. I appreciate David. Hey, man, I want y'all to live life. This will conclude this podcast or spaces or whatever you want to call it. David, you already know what it is. Just get back at me sometime next week so we can do this again. Whenever you ready, David, I'll do it. And I got nothing but love and appreciation for y'all and for my people. And we just need to nation build, study, read, and learn from each other, man. Y'all have a great evening. Y'all be safe and y'all enjoy y'all weekend.
Thanks, y'all too. Appreciate y'all.
Much love to you guys, man. I appreciate you.